Welcome to today's webinar, a new look for the reporter, no phone booth required. Today we're going to start with some basic information about the new reporter. We're going to talk about some additional changes expected in the future. We're going to look at creating report folders, talk about the Sitka templates, and then go through cloning a report template, running a report, and viewing the report output. So welcome to the new reporter. It's the most significant change to the reporter since the very early days of Evergreen, and it's going to be an adjustment for everyone used to the old reporter. We're finding an adjustment as well. However, overall, we do think that the user experience is greatly improved and it's easier for new users to learn overall. And I'm finding that it's fewer clicks to do a lot of things. So it's a bit faster once you get used to the changes. Now, we do anticipate there may be some further changes that could require additional changes to templates. So at this time, we're recommending that you only clone new templates on an ad-needed basis. And in the summer or fall, we're going to be contacting libraries to clean up their report templates. So we're going to be looking at reports run from old staff accounts, from staff who are no longer actively working at your library. We're going to be looking at reports that are run directly from the Sitka templates, recurring reports that are running off old templates, and recurring reports that you just no longer need. And there is going to be availability for one-on-one report cleanup sessions over the summer as we move into this cleanup. So stay tuned for announcements on when you can sign up for those, if that's something that would be helpful for you and your library. Now I'm just going to stop my slideshow here and switch over to the Evergreen staff client. So nothing has changed in how you access the reporter within Evergreen. So if we go to administration and reports, now keep an eye on the bottom right-hand corner for the moment, because when I click reports here, it's popping up and it's telling me that I don't actually have permission to access reports. So if you're using an account that doesn't have reporter permissions, that is what you will see. So I'm now going to log in using an account that does have those reporter permissions. So now when I go to administration and reports, I have the new reporter interface open up. So if you're new to the reporter, you will need to add at least one top-level folder for each templates, reports, and outputs. And so this account that we're using today has never used the reporter before, so we're going to need to do that. So I'm going to click on templates under my folders, and I then get a button for add top-level template folder, and I'll click on that button and add in my folder name. And then I'll just click confirm. I'll do the same for reports. So add top level report folder. Like the old reporter, it keeps the name that you had just used. So if you're doing a parallel naming scheme, that can be really useful. So I'm just going to hit confirm. And I'll do the same again with output. And then because we'll want it for a later piece of the demonstration here today, I'm just going to add another top level template folder called collection, and then add the same for reports and output as well. And if I expand the arrows beside, I can see the different template reports and output folders that I now have. Any templates that you create or clone will be saved in your template folders. the report definition, which includes what values you've selected for filters, the format for your output, and the email or emails to send output to, get saved in the report folders, and the actual output gets saved into that output or into your output folders. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about sharing folders. It's similar to how it worked in the old reporter. So if I want to share my collection template folder, I'm going to click on collection and I have a share folder button here. So I'm going to click share folder. By default, it's suggesting that I share with my library. Generally, you probably usually want to share with either your library or your system if you're multi-branch. And that'll allow other staff with reporter permissions to be able to view the folder and its contents. It also allows co-op support to log in to Evergreen at your library and then be able to see those folders and their contents to assist you in troubleshooting. Occasionally, you might have a template that you want to share with others in your ILC zone or your federation. Um, but if you go to the drop down here, you can see that currently on the training server here, I can share with Greenland Consortium, which on the live server is Sitka. Really, you should never be sharing at the Sitka level, as that's going to expose your folders and contents to the entire consortium. And this is actually a bug that's allowing it right now. If you have created a template that you think would be useful for everyone, let us know and we can get that added to the Sitka templates. So I'm going to share this one with Maple and click Save. So if I expand my arrow beside templates, I can see that I've got the short code beside the collection folder now to indicate that it's shared with all of the Maple Public Library. Now, if you have folders within folders, you do want to still make sure that all folders in the path are shared at the same level. So if I look in the shared folders here, and I'm going to look at the Sitka reports user, you can see we have circulation and monthly circ stats that are shared with Maple, and both folders have been shared. So now that we're here in the shared folders section, let's talk a little bit about Sitka templates, which shows as Greenland templates here on the training server. So as those of you who use the reporter know, the Sitka templates folders contain templates for commonly needed reports. Now, due to changes in the reporter, many templates created before 3.14 no longer work or no longer work when cloned. So we're in the process of recreating the old Sitka templates. Most of the templates that we highlight in our documentation have been recreated. Not all of them yet, but a good number of them. And you may also find in our documentation that the report definition examples haven't been updated to the new reporter. That is coming. But if you're looking through the Sitka templates and you need a template that hasn't been recreated yet, please submit a ticket to co-op support with the name of the template that you need. Recreating templates and confirming they're working can be a labor-intense process, so please do know that it may take 1 to 2 weeks before that template is available. So if there's something you're going to need soon, do submit that ticket sooner than later. Similarly, if you have custom templates that were created for you by co-op support that are no longer working, please contact co-op support with the name of that template. So now we're going to clone some templates. So we're already in the shared folders section of the interface, and we've expanded templates and Greenland templates. And the one that I'm wanting to clone first, we're going to find in the collection folder and within collection in the item and title count. So I'm going to select that folder, and the template that I want to clone is the title and item count by shelving location and circulation modifier. So I have two options now. From the actions menu, I can choose new report. I can also, if I close that, I can also right click on the line and choose new report from there. sorry, not new report, clone template. We're not running the report yet, we're cloning. So I'm going to click clone template here. And this opens up the template editor. We're not going to go into depth about editing templates today, but there's a few things that I want to note. So on the display fields tab, here you can easily remove display fields that you don't need simply by clicking on this minus symbol. I'm not going to do it for this report because I want all the fields, but if there are fields that you don't need included, you can just use that minus symbol. You can also really easily change the display name for your columns by updating the appropriate field. So instead of circulation modifier, maybe I want this one just to be circ modifier, and I just edit that field. You can also use the arrows to rearrange the order of the display fields. And it's much easier and much faster than in the old reporter, for those of you who have gone through and adjusted column order in that one. So I'm just going to click the up arrow and click it twice, and that's moved up. And I want to move circulating library up as well. And you can see 4 clicks and everything has been rearranged the way I want it. Now, if we switch over to the report and layout tab, you can see on this tab, you can also change the column names as well as rearrange them using those arrows. You also have the ability to change the default sort order. So if you want the report to display with owning library as the first column, like I have here, but you want it to sort initially on shelving location, we can use the arrows to do that. So I'm just going to bump shelving location up. So while my columns are still going to display owning library, circulating library, shelving location, etc., it's automatically going to sort my output based on the shelving location. You can still adjust that in your output by clicking on the column headers, but this changes what initially displays for you. And as you can see, we also have the ability to decide whether we want that to be ascending or descending. So once you've made any needed modifications to the template, you need to make sure you save it into one of your template folders. And we're going to click Save. And if I go into that collection folder, you can see that I now have the template there. Now, before we do anything with that template, I'm going to clone one more template. So this time we're going to go under the circulation folder and into the monthly circ stats folder. And we're going to select the monthly circulation by shelving location. And from the actions menu, choose clone template and choose the template folder we want to store that in. I'm not going to make any modifications to this template, so I'll just click Save. And we can now see that one in our circulation folder as well. And again, as you're working with the Sitka templates, if you're not finding the template you need, please contact co-op support. So now we're going to run a report. And in the new reporter, if you're running one-off reports, you do want to make sure that you clone a new template first. So we've cloned our new templates. I'm going to go into the collection folder and we're going to run the title and item count by shelving location and circulation modifier for the Maple Public Library. So I can select that and from the actions menu, choose new report. I can also right click on the line to get that menu. Now, one thing that I want to highlight, which has thrown me a few times, is by default, the report name is now filled in with the name of the template. In the old reporter, this was a blank field and you weren't able to save the template, save the report until you'd filled that in. I have definitely saved some reports with the template name as the report name. So just something to be aware of. So I'm going to change this one to MPL current collection. By default, the report interface opens on the filters tab. You can switch to the columns tab to see what columns are going to be included in the report. But switching back to the filters tab here, we can see we've got 3 filters for this report. 2 of them are hard-coded. So the first filter is looking at the value of the call number, and if the call number is -1, it's excluding it, and that is excluding precats because pre-cataloged items all have a call number of -1. The other filter is excluding any deleted items from this report. So it's only going to include items in this report if the flag for is deleted is set to false. So the items aren't deleted. The filter we do need to do something with for this report is the library filter. And so you can see it looks quite a bit different from the filter in the old reporter. And it will automatically open in your area of the org tree. So you can see I can just choose Maple Library. Depending on where you come alphabetically in your section of the org tree, you may need to scroll. So for instance, if I expand all of these, just to give us a bit more length here, you can see I now have to scroll through to find. The other thing that you can do though, is you can start typing in the name of your library or library branch, and you can then find it and select it that way. The other thing that you can do, which is useful, is if you are a multi-branch library like Birch's on our training server, if you select the first organizational unit that you want to include, hold down the Shift key and select the last, it'll select them all in one go. And you can also deselect that way. So in this case, we're going to choose Maple because that's the library that we are running the report for. And then I can either use the tabs at the top to switch, or I can click Next. So because I'm at the bottom here, I'm going to click Next. And here we are on the Layout and Scheduling tab. So there's a few things we're going to need to do here. And many of these are ones that you would do in the old reporter as well. So we're going to start by choosing a reports folder and an output folder where we want the definition and the output to be stored. So for both of those, I'm going to choose my collection folders. Now, if you want something different than the default for your output, you can make that change. By default, it's going to give you CSV output and HTML output, but you can add Excel or charts. For reports that include bibliographic record IDs, there's a new thing that you can do with buckets. You can see this report doesn't include those, so the functionality is not available. We're not going to go into that today, but it is something to look at if you're trying to, or if you're wanting to create a bucket out of record bucket IDs. We're going to leave this report as run report now because we'll come back and talk about recurring reports in a few minutes. The email is filled in from our staff account that we're logged in with, but you can change it or you can add additional emails if desired so that that person gets the output email. And then we're just going to click Save and Schedule. And if we go to our Outputs folder and into Collection, we can see that the report is currently pending. So we're going to give that a moment to run, and we're going to come back, go back to talk about recurring reports, and then we'll come back to viewing report output. So for recurring reports, we're going to go into my circulation folder and run a report off the template monthly circulation by shelving location. So again, I'm selecting the template and from the actions menu, choosing new report. Now, in general, we are currently recommending that you leave your recurring reports as is if they're running properly. And today, being the first of the month, will have been a test of that. So if you had a recurring report not complete successfully this morning, please do send us in a ticket. Um, and the reason we're not recommending that you replace all your recurring reports right now if they're working is there may be some further changes that we have to make to some of those templates. And we don't want you to have to replace all your report templates and then have to replace them all again in a couple months. But we're going to go through and run this monthly recurring report now so that you can see how to do it if you're needing to do it. So we're going to update our report name. And for this one, I'm just going to mostly keep the template name and add an MPL at the beginning. Remember, because we're running a recurring report, you don't want to include dates in the title because it won't be the same date every time it runs. Now, in our filters, we're going to check the box for relative time value for our checkout date and time filter. And we can then tell it that we want this to be 1 month ago. And you can use the arrows. I just pressed the one on my keyboard. Again, we have the tree for our library. So I'm just going to click Maple. And I'm going to switch over to the Layout and Scheduling tab. And here's where we're going to do a few things differently than we did for the one-off report after we select our folders. So this time I'm going to put it into my circulation folders for reports and output. We're going to check the box for recurring report. And by doing it, it gives us a new field for recurrence interval. So we're going to click on the field that includes days and change that to months because we're setting up a monthly recurring report. And I'm going to say I want the recurrence interval to be 1 month. Now we're not going to leave the report to run now. We're going to schedule it for later. And by checking that, we now have a field to choose when we want to schedule that report for. Now, when you're running a monthly report, you want to set it up to run the first of the next month to make sure that it properly contains the entirety of the previous month. So if we were running this one, we would, setting this up to be a recurring report, we would want to set this up to run on the 1st of June. And it's always a good idea to set it up, your recurring reports up to run in the early morning when nobody is using the system. So if I save this report, it'll run on the 1st of June and then every month after until I stop it. Now, one thing you can do, which may be helpful if you're having to set up a recurring report that didn't run properly this month, is you can actually set it up to that first report run date to be in the past. So we could actually say that we want this to run on May 1st at 3:30 a.m., or we could say we want it to run on April 1st. And what Evergreen will do is it will like if we have this set to April 1st, it will run your March statistics report that would have run on April 1st, and then it will run your April statistics report that would have run on May 1st, and then it will wait until June 1st to run the next one. So instead of having to run each of those as individual one-offs, you can use a date in the past, and Evergreen will catch up those reports for you. This can be handy for circulation related reports because the circulation in the past isn't going to change. Reports like we looked at with the collection count, it's not going to be useful because that one is capturing a snapshot of this particular moment when the reports run. But for circulation reports, this can save you some time. Now, again, we have the email address that's filled in from the staff account, but you can change it or you can add additional emails if desired. So I'm going to save and schedule this report. And go to my output folders and circulation. And you can see that it's already run the April 1st report. It's in the process of running the May one. And since I refreshed, it's now run the May one. And now it will wait until June 1st to run the next uh, issuance of that report. If I come over to collection, we can see that my report that I ran earlier has now completed as well. And now we're going to talk a little bit about actually viewing your report output. And this is where we know it's caused some confusion post-upgrade. So the new reporter has tightened access to the reporter, which is a good thing for protecting your data, but has caused some confusion. So there's now two requirements for viewing report output. You have to have filled out a reporter privacy waiver for the staff account that you're using and have had that reporter permission granted. Either the full permission or the permission to view report output. And the output must also be in an output folder that is shared with your library or system. And that's the piece that has changed with this upgrade. So if both those requirements aren't met, staff are not able to access the report output via the link in the email. If both requirements are met, staff should simply need to enter their username and password and then be able to view the output as they could before. So within the new reporter, we can look at our output as well. So I'm in my output folder. I have the option to just click on the buttons for HTML or CSV, and I'd have other options here if I had chosen other output as well. So I'm going to click on the HTML here, and you can see that automatically opens up the HTML view of my report. And you can see it is automatically sorting by shelving location. If I wanted to sort by circulation modifier instead, I could just click on the column and it would resort as it previously did. And the same with the CSV. If I clicked on that, it would download that for me. As well, once I have the line selected, if I go to Actions and View Output, this is going to open up the same as what will open if you click the link in an email, where you can then choose which output you want. So you can go directly to it or you can go to this page if you're doing it from within Evergreen in your reporter. And if you are getting the report output in CSV or Excel formats, you can download and save that locally if you need it. So there's a few other new things that I want to highlight. And we're going to start by going back to the templates folder and the circulation folder. So it's now easier to see how your templates and reports and output are linked. So in the template folder here, if you select a template, we only have the one currently in here, and go to Actions and Report List. This is going to show me all of the report definitions that are in my folders that have been run off that one template. Currently, I only have the one because I just set up that one recurring report, and I can see that it is recurring. From here, I can select that report, and from the Actions menu, I can go to Output List, and it will take me and it will show me exactly what I have run off that report definition or what is still to run. So it's a little less helpful to see it with the minimal data I have here. But if you have multiple templates and you're trying to figure out if you've run a report off one or you're trying to find the output related to a report definition and you just can't remember which folder it got saved in, this can help you find that easily. As well, if you're trying to find a template but you're not sure what it's called, the search function has been redone and is easier to use now. So if I go to search here, I can search by name and description or each individually. So if I choose name here, I'm going to tell it I want it to search specifically in Greenland because I know this is a Sitka template that I'm looking for. I just can't remember which folder it's in. And so I'm going to put in item count. So I want all of the templates that have the words item count in the name. And you can see it brings up quite a few different options here. Um, I could also do inventory if I was trying to find all the inventory related reports. Um, and if I wasn't finding with the name, I could try with the description or choose all fields to have it search both the name and the description. So that might make things a little easier if you're trying to find a template to do a particular report and you're not sure what the template would be called or what folder it would be in. If you've got some keywords to try, give the search a try. And then, of course, if you're still not able to locate it or it might not exist, contact co-op support and we can assist you. And speaking of contacting co-op support, I'm going to switch us back to my slideshow here. So if you do run into issues and need assistance from co-op support, please make sure that you have the template folder shared with your library so that co-op support can go in and view the template that you need assistance with, and also include the following information in your ticket: the username of the staff account where the template has been created, the folder where the template has been created, the name of the template in question, your desired result for the template, what are you actually trying to report on, any specific display fields or filters that you're having difficulties modifying or adding if you're trying to edit that report template, and links to your current report output if that's relevant. So the more of this information that you can include in your ticket, the easier it's going to be for us to assist you and the less back and forth that will be needed. And that actually brings us to the end of today's session. I'm going to stop the recording and then we'll have some time for questions.